We follow this up in Fight, Victory Leo. Perceptor and Wheeljack use Jinrai Su's remains to create a wholly new character, Victory Leo. A name repeated ad nauseum as if to remind us he's a new character. Rather schizophrenic since they also keep pointing out that Victory Leo is Jinrai Su reborn. Jan even spends most of the time mourning over Jinrai Su, but frankly, he hadn't appeared in Victory very often before his death, so this just comes across as fake pathos. Not that I cared much for Jinrai Su, or Jan for that matter. Moving on, Victory Leo doesn't seem to be able to control himself. Since he acts like a wild animal, the Autobots have to keep in check.
His beast mode is dominating his logic circuits.
Oh, and Great Shot has been given his position of command in the Autobot forces. I still find that karmic, and so do you. Don't pretend you don't. And a little later on in the word salad titled episode, The Tide is Turned, the Ultimate Weapon, the Victory Unification, we get to see the upgrade Victory Leo is supposed to be. A pair of boots and wings for Starsaber's robot mode, and jet extension for his vehicle mode. Pretty underwhelming. And believe me, this transformation sequence is unnecessarily long. It takes longer than combiners to transform into their Jesalt form. I know this because at one point, Leozak's crew managed to do just that. Fully formed Lio Kaiser while Starsaber and Victory Leo are still combining. Excessive much? More filler episodes pass, though there is one moment in particular I'd like to address. As if to contrast Leozak and Hellbat's agendas, the Dinos battle Starsaber and lose, but afterwards, the Dinos' leader, Goryu, does this.
リーダーは俺だ。俺はどうなってもいい。しかしこいつらは助けてやってくれ。何？俺を切れ。リーダー、ここは俺たちが食い止めます。リーダーこそ早く脱出を。角竜、やめろ。リーダー、俺たちこそどうなってもいい。早く角竜の言う通りに。ビクトリーセーバー、リーダーには指一本触れさせん。早く脱出してください、リーダー。俺たちのことは構わず、リーダー。
Wow. Just wow. First that thing with Hellbat and Death Cobra, and now this. This show really does know what it's doing with its characters. We're getting close to the end now, and the stakes are raised in the episode Terror of the Giant Waves. Hellbat suggests they use their supply of energon to raise Atlantis out of the ocean, acquiring 10 times the amount for all their trouble. And in a surprising bit of continuity from the original series, they remembered Transformers can function underwater with absolutely no hindrances whatsoever. But of course, raising a large body of water out of the ocean sort of...
このままでは津波の第2波でアメリカ東海岸まで被害が広がってしまう。
Yeah, that'll happen. With the Autobots preoccupied by rescuing humans, the Decepticons get all the energy from Atlantis that they need to fully power Deathsaurus' space fortress. However, Atlantis starts to sink and the dinos are swept away by the rushing tides. Of course, the fact that they survived is a surprise to pretty much no one watching at this point, though in the following episode, Wrath of the Resurrected Giant Fortress, the Autobots try to convince the dinos that they were abandoned. No they weren't. Deathsaurus left with a ship full of energon and said he would return, and Atlantis just sunk before he could. The Breastformers even mentioned that the dinos were abandoned, but nothing indicates that. Forgotten about maybe, but purposefully left behind? I don't think so. Meanwhile, Deathsaurus releases meteor bombs on the planet. I really don't see the point of making them bombs when a meteor explodes on impact anyway, so that kind of makes it a redundant weapon. Of course, this means the dinos get hit, with Goryu taking the worst of it. As the Autobots repair him, Road Caesar and Great Shot head into space to deal with the space fortress making its way to Earth, with Starsaber and Victory Leo close behind. However, a blast from the fortress sends Starsaber flying off into the depths of space, with Deathsaurus declaring Earth is next. And now, after everything that's happened in the Generation 1 continuity, it all comes down to this. Episode 37, Showdown! The Fortress vs. Victory Unification. Things are not looking good for the Autobots. Pretty much everyone is too wounded from all the battling going on to deal with the Space Fortress, until Goryu reveals how to turn off the fortress's power source. Yes, except who's going to do anything about it? The Brain Masters, the Multi-Force, Great Shot are all down, Starsaber is floating in the vacuum of space on the brink of death.
僕が行くしか。
Of course, Jan and Holly. How predictable. Though at least I have more faith in them than I would with Daniel and Wheelie. As Victory Leo fights Lio Kaiser, Starsaber rushes into the fortress to find Jan and Holly. This sadly ends when Victory Leo knocks Lio Kaiser into the path of the fortress's main cannon, draining him of all his energy, meaning the Breastformers are dead. Wow, with the Dinos abandoning the cause, and now this, Deathsaurus is left with no troops at all, and Jan even succeeds in shutting down the fortress. Succumbing to a villainous breakdown, Deathsaurus just wails on Starsaber, and wow, this is a brutal fight. Starsaber actually breaks his own sword when he stabs the Decepticon later. However, Deathsaurus is not willing to go down alone, so he sets his fortress on a collision course for Earth, trapping Starsaber inside, while he himself escapes, floating, I really can't tell if he's dead or not, into the depths of space. With Jan and Holly still in orbit, Starsaber and Victory Leo combine one last time, break out of the fortress, and fly into the main cannon. Yeah, it just cuts them flying out alive and well.
ブレイバー、ラスターのブレインマスター3人は第一方面軍司令官として活躍中。マルチ戦隊は新たにベガ聖域支部に配属、支部長に昇進。
You're not fooling anyone.
グレートショットさんは雇い兵に戻ってシェルバルト戦域で消息不明。
Really?
恐竜戦隊の合流は地球で土木建設工事の親方をしています。もちろん軍団も一緒に。角竜は遊園地で子供たちの人気者です。
Starsaber's really dead. I guess that's one way to shake up the ending. Victory!
そしてスターセイバーは
トランスフォーム。
もちろん健在、サイバトロンの総司令官として大活躍中。
Yeah, figures we'd see him alive and well at the very end. He did pick the Destroy ending after all. Victory is a surprisingly appropriate title. After 2 strikes against them, Takara finally made a good Transformers show. Almost all of my complaints from Headmasters and Master Force are addressed and fixed. The entire point of the franchise, Autobots fighting Decepticons, good characters, the focus staying in one place and didn't wander into any irrelevant ideas that frankly belong in different franchises, the fights were actually better than before, Starsaber and Deathsaurus remained leaders without stepping down in favor of lesser characters, and it wasn't a pain to sit through. It's not without its flaws, though. Like I said before, it had plenty of one-shot and filler episodes, much less story this time around. 6 weren't even episodes, they were just clip shows. Some were mere 2 episodes apart from one another. From what I've gathered, it was a reduced budget, which probably explains the simpler story, excessive stock footage, and 6 clip shows. Though there are consistent things that remind us of the successes, as few as there were, with the other shows, and improved upon those as well. I get the feeling the writing staff of all these shows were more comfortable writing the Decepticons than the Autobots. As we saw, they really did a lot with Leozak, Hellbats, and the Dinos. We saw camaraderie, we saw relationships change, we saw variety. I get the feeling Deathsaurus was the real template for later incarnations of Megatron. Stays out of the action, but is still easily the strongest of the Decepticons. Ruthless, does not tolerate failure, full of fury, and focused on his goal to the point of obsession. Funny how a character that was inspired by another later inspires new versions of the former. Sadly, the Autobots do not get the same kind of characterization, and that leads to Starsaber, and my thoughts on him really wavered from time to time. He has a problem that we saw as early as the Season 3 finale, much more in Headmasters and Master Force, and a trend that continues all the way to the live-action movies, the over-glorification of leaders. Starsaber is praised as the strongest of the Autobots, he has most of the screen time, and the battles almost always turn in the Autobots' favor whenever he is present. I do hesitate to call him a Mary Sue like I did to Jinrai last season, mainly because he actually does lose, and he does seem to have a little more to him than just wish fulfillment. He seems to actually care about Jan, he's willing to jump into battle to save lives, he doesn't really care about his own well-being. We see in a flashback that command is something he's not completely comfortable with, and he wasn't even sure if he was right for the job. He also isn't the focus of every episode conversation, isn't adored but without hesitation by all the good guys, and all the villains don't have some kind of personal vendetta against him. Just Deathsaurus, which according to some sources say that's been going on since their childhood, for all the sense that makes. He crosses the creator's pet territory given his overuse of the transformation sequence, but not quite reaching Mary Sue line, which frankly is a much greater sin for a character to be. You're probably expecting that with all the things Victory does right, it does not have that same English dub made by that company who has no voice acting talent. You'd be wrong.
Deathsaurus.
You're still alive, Star Saber, but this time you won't be able to escape. Come on then, I'll show you who the clown is.
You animal!
They have not improved at all. Well, dubbing made by people who have no knowledge of Transformers and possess even less voice acting talent doesn't change one thing. Victory is finally what I wanted. A good Japanese Transformers show. Might as well end the Takara trilogy on a good rate. Does feel good that it's finally done. And next year, I can move on to bigger and better things. There it is again! You guys see anything?
No robot scorpions this time.
Have you had any word from Metalhawk or Truckle?
Truck? Partner! We tried to stop him, but he managed to slip through our perimeter.
But that means...
Get off of me, you heavy!
my head. What happened?
Again with these Transformers with different backgrounds than us.
What?
Target on!
I gave Victory a pass as far as Transformer shows are concerned. I don't know why you... Oh, wait. I kept calling you a Mary Sue. Right. Victory Leo, you need to stop this. You're an Autobot. You're better than this.
Otherwise, this anniversary would have a tragic end.
I'm lucky I still have a hand after that. Give me a new gun.
Will this one do? Here, let me give you a boost.
You got it, partner. Truck full set. Metalhawk, you might want to duck. Oh no, not you.
We're not gonna have to fight those two, are we?
No! Victory Leo, you listen to me. This reviewer is not worth it. As obnoxious as he may be, you are overreacting. Victory Leo, stand down!
I got nothing. This doesn't even show up on my scale.
Hey, at least Star Saber's on our side.
I still don't like you.
Yeah, the creator's pet comment, I know.
Victory Leo, stop! What are you doing?
Quick, before this transformation finishes, open fire!
Don't make me do this! I'm sorry. He's controlling me!
Star Saber, you gotta fight it!
I'm sorry, Metalhawk. I can't! No, you must be stopped! There's only one way. Autobots, forgive me!
Oh no. Yeah, doesn't look like it worked well enough though. He didn't separate from Victory Leo like we thought he would. Star Saber, it's Metalhawk. I'm not dead.
I know, Metalhawk, but the danger Victory Leo possesses as long as he and I are around is too great.
Star Saber!
Till all are one.
I guess I was wrong about the end.
Yeah, it looks like we all were wrong about that. May a spark join the Matrix, the greatest of Cybertron.